and welcome to Diabetes Connections in the News. I'm Stacey Simms, and every other Friday, I bring you a short episode with the top diabetes stories and headlines happening now. Our top story this week, accessibility to modern diabetes technology and nothing else directly correlates with A1C among children with type 1 diabetes globally. This was a big cross-sectional study conducted in 81 pediatric diabetes centers in 56 countries. They found that a greater extent of reimbursement for CGMs, insulin pumps, glucose meters, and insulin was associated with lower A1Cs. Great write-up in Medscape, and I'm going to link it up in the show notes along with every other news story here. In it, Partha Kaur, type 1 diabetes and technology lead of the National Health Service in England, says if policymakers are serious about bringing A1C at a population level to sub 7.5% levels, then without technology, it would be incredibly difficult to achieve, in my experience and opinion. In an accompanying editorial, Dr. Elizabeth Sequist from the University of Minnesota called it striking that access to technology in and of itself was associated with improved glycemic control, given that, quote, multidisciplinary team care is also needed to provide education and behavioral or psychological support. A man with type 1 in Illinois has received the first FDA-approved islet cell replacement treatment, Lantidra, and he is now producing his own insulin. The treatment works by restoring the body's beta cells. The FDA approved Lantidra in 2023. It uses donor cells and does require lifelong immunosuppressive drugs. Early data has shown that a majority of participants in the Lantidra clinical study were able to achieve some level of insulin independence, but researchers say it's not clear whether the benefits outweigh the treatment's safety risk. Nearly 87% of participants reported infection-related adverse events. Patients in the U.S. now have access to the first generic GLP-1 treatment approved for weight loss. Teva has launched its copycat of Novo Nordisk's injected Saxenda. Saxenda came before Ozempic and Wegovy, and the compound has been approved by the FDA to treat adults with obesity and those who are overweight and have weight-related medical problems. Saxenda is also approved for kids aged 12 through 17 who are obese. In addition to Saxenda, Teva also makes a generic of Victoza. That's actually the same compound as Saxenda, but it's only been approved for patients with type 1 diabetes. Sales of the branded versions of both Victoza and Saxenda have declined significantly in recent years as demand for Ozempic and Mounjaro has skyrocketed. Metformin could cut the risk of long COVID by 64% in overweight or obese adults who start the drug within 90 days of infection. This is a large observational study which looked at health records of over 600,000 UK adults with COVID-19 between March 2020 and July 2023. Among those, nearly 3,000 patients who began metformin treatment soon after diagnosis were tracked for a year, and compared to those not taking metformin, their likelihood of developing long COVID, defined as persistent symptoms 90 days or more after infection, was dramatically lower. 44% of people over the age of 15 who have diabetes are undiagnosed. They don't know they have it. Big data analysis published in the journal The Lancet, Diabetes and Endocrinology. This study looked at data from more than 200 countries and territories from 2000 to 2023. The majority of people here had type 2 diabetes. People under age 35 were much less likely to be diagnosed if they had diabetes than people in middle age or older. Of those with diabetes, just 20% of young adults with diabetes were aware of their condition. A team of Hong Kong scientists is developing an injectable treatment that could potentially improve blood flow in diabetes patients' feet. The hope here is that it will reduce the need for amputation. They also hope to apply the treatment to peripheral artery disease, a condition caused by the buildup of fatty deposits in arteries that affect blood circulation in the feet. The team says they still need at least 3 or 4 years for further research on the treatment. Tandem Diabetes announces Health Canada authorization for the distribution of their t:slim mobile app for Android and iPhone. This is the app that allows users to deliver a bolus from their compatible smartphone and to wirelessly upload their pump data to the cloud-based Tandem Source platform. The app is expected to be available later this year. Tandem says it will email eligible Canadian customers with instructions on how to download and use the app. Some changes to how the Eversense CGM will be rolled out. Right now, it's being distributed by Essentia Diabetes Care, and Sensonics will take back commercial control of the year-long implantable CGM, January 1st in the U.S., and then expanding worldwide throughout 2026. The two companies say it was a mutual decision. They have a memorandum of understanding. Sensonics will acquire members of Ascensia's commercial staff, including CGM President Brian Hansen, who is slated to become Sensonics' new Chief Commercial Officer. The Kaleido 2 patch pump inches closer to entry into the U.S. market. This is a colorful patch pump. You can choose from 10 preset color options that integrates with Diabeloop's hybrid closed-loop algorithms. It's compatible with Dexcom's CGM sensors. New funding announced for the company that makes it. The company Vicentra says that they can now meet surging European demand and fast-track their entry into the U.S. market. Luna Diabetes announcing they've raised more than $23 million in early venture capital to help continue clinical trials and build out capacity. This is the company that wants to offer a nighttime-only, tiny, temporary insulin pump to supplement insulin pen use. According to the company, more than 80% of the improvements in blood sugar from automated insulin delivery systems occur while the user is sleeping. Luna launched a pivotal trial late last year. Did you see this story online? Bob Delp is 90 years old, living independently on the ranch he built from the ground up, and he is marking 66 years with type 1 diabetes. He was diagnosed back in the 1950s. It's a great article. Of course, I will link it up in the show notes, and best wishes to him and to his family. Really interesting little line in this article that is unsourced. I'd love to know, as you listen, what you think of it. In the article, it says, quote, statistically, it's almost unheard of. Fewer than 90 people in the world have lived more than 70 years with type 1 diabetes. Where does that information come from? And is it true? If you have the answer, please reach out. I would really like to know more about that. And I know there is a growing cohort of listeners to this podcast that are growing older with type 1 diabetes, and I'm sure you would like to know as well. And finally, Dexcom is looking for people to take place in their World Diabetes Day campaign. They sent out a press release that says, quote, they are searching for the next diabetes advocates, giving people with all types of diabetes a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to raise awareness and share their voice on a global scale. I will link up the eligibility requirements, but you got to be over age 2. You can have any type of diabetes. You can nominate yourself or you can nominate somebody else. Selected candidates, quote, will embody strength, advocacy, and pride in living with diabetes or pre-diabetes. Deadline is September 19th. Link is in the show notes. Before I let you go, heads up, the EASD, the European Association for the Study of Diabetes annual meeting is happening next week, September 15th through 19th. I don't anticipate a special break-in the news episode, especially because I will be in Minneapolis for Mom's Night Out during this meeting. But of course, if anything earth-shattering happens, I will jump on social media. We'll put in an episode if it's warranted. But otherwise, you can expect to hear more about what happened at EASD in 2 weeks in the news. And that's it for this week's episode of Diabetes Connections in the News. I'm Stacey Simms. I'll see you back here soon. Until then, be kind to yourself.
Diabetes Connections is a production of Stacey Simms Media. All rights reserved, all wrongs avenged.